Welcome to another reaction stream ahead of Game Week 5. We're going to be looking at how I did in Game Week 4. And everything you see on the left is updated, but there might be a few changes in the rank. And I've got a very small green arrow from around 2.1, 2.2 million to 1.8. So I'll take that. Obviously, Hurricanes haul today didn't help me too much. And Neto got an assist, but it was ruled out. Jimenez scored the goal. And yeah, I mean, look, yesterday was pretty good on the whole, but the Salah captaincy, and the same will go for many of you, would have rubbed us the wrong way. And those that captain Haaland, fair play. I didn't see him scoring a hat-trick against Palace. I thought they'd struggle, which they did. I thought maybe they'd win 2-0 or by a 2-goal margin. So I got that right, but I didn't expect them to mount a comeback from being 2-0 down and for Haaland to score a hat-trick. That's football for you. And Haaland, as I predicted in pre-season, and I'm not saying I'm the Nostradamus or something, you know, he's that good of a player. I think most of us would have expected this. I thought he'd acclimatise very quickly to the Premier League, and he has done so. And he just scores goals. You know, he doesn't have that many touches in general. He can have maybe 8 touches in a game, but he still gets those goals and assists. Especially with the goals, and you know he's doing so well. But Salah captain, I mean, I still can't believe it. 9 goals for Liverpool, and Salah's not involved in a single one. Not even an assist, not one. I still can't believe that. That's something that will be the stuff of legend. And let me know what you think. I honestly believe that it's worse than Havertz last year, because Havertz is known to be an inconsistent player. Salah's the best FPL asset of all time, and for his team to score 9 against a very poor side, and for him not to be involved, I think it's just absolute insanity, honestly. But a lot of us are in the same boat. A lot of us would have captained him, and even those that didn't probably have him in their team. Obviously, there's around 30-40% of the game that don't have him, but still, it's just an incredible gaming, to be honest. And a much different kind of outlook, because my back 5 have been returning, with the exception of Cancelo, Ramsdale as well. Look, I have to say, Ramsdale has been pretty good. He was pretty impressive against Fulham. Some pretty good saves. He didn't have any of those kind of weird moments that he had in the previous games, such as Bournemouth. But he doesn't make enough saves and also bonus points to really make him worthwhile. And Robert Sanchez, for me, is the clear victor in terms of the goalkeepers right now. But we're going to discuss more of this later on in the stream. I want to go through your questions and comments, and I'm sure a lot of you will want a lot of stuff answered, because the next deadline is on Tuesday. And as soon as this is done, what I want to do is then record the transfer tips and the team selection now that all the games have been completed. But welcome, everyone. Welcome, Patrick. 2 free transfers and don't know what to do. Ramsdale, Trent, Robbo, James, Cancelo, Walker, Salah, Martinelli, Rodrigo, Jesus, Haaland. I think the main reason why is because you have a good team. So I can see why. This is where you can make some luxury transfers, so to speak. I think from the players you actually have, the one that I'd be most inclined to sell is probably Walker, actually, because you're really relying on clean sheets. And I think in terms of the kind of system City want to play with 2 inverted fullbacks, Walker doesn't really suit it too much. I think Sergio Gomez could be a better fit, and Cancelo on the right could actually be a predominant thing in the weeks and months to come. But obviously Walker has a lot of credit in the bank. He's a good defender. But I'd be a bit concerned about him, and I just don't think he'll get that many FPL points, and the same has been, you know, happening for the last few seasons as well. If you want to keep him, and that's completely fine by me, and obviously it's down to you, I think you could do Ramsdale to Sanchez. It's a goalkeeper transfer. It sounds a bit weird, but, well, we'll be talking about that later on, and you'll see what I mean. And Robertson, you could possibly downgrade him to Saliba, and that gives you enough money to upgrade one of your, you know, bench players like De Silva, for example. Or your third striker, you could do Archer to Tony, or even Mitrovic, depending on your preference. I still prefer Tony. So that's some kind of things you could do, Patrick. I think with 2 free transfers, you're in a good position. Welcome, King FX Tales. Wow, what a name, by the way. Welcome. Welcome, Ahmed, Harry, Jeff. As always, it's a pleasure. 78 points. That's a good score this week. I'm pretty sure some people in this stream will say, oh, I got 90 points, 100, and that's fair play, especially those Haaland captainers. But I think this is a kind of more high-scoring game week this time around. Yo, Dylan, another red arrow. Need Robertson replacements. Any suggestions? I'm not sure which players you have or don't have, but I think you could just downgrade to a Saliba, for example. You could go to a few others around that price. I still like Trippier, although let's see what kind of is going on with his injury. Zinchenko is still a good option. I'm going to be discussing this in the transfer tips. He's literally injured, and Tierney wasn't really ready, as we saw in the game against Fulham. He kind of struggled. You know, he's just come back from a long injury. And Zinchenko is definitely first choice right now. He plays that inverted fullback role so well, and he helps Arsenal overall. I think Arsenal did miss him a lot yesterday, along with Thomas Partey. But those are some good defenders for you. Perisic as well, but you have to stomach those benchings, which will happen. But then you also see the other side. He can come off a bit early, but, you know, he can bank that clean sheet, and you have nothing to worry about. Yeah, welcome, Patrick. Another poor game. Salah's very close to getting dumped, not going to lie. Let's see how Dylan's doing. Yeah. pretty much to summarize, I'm not doing that bad. It's a good game week, I'd say. It's probably my best of the season, but that's not saying much because I've had a poor start. And my midfield still needs to be improved. And, Neto is stinking up my pitch again. I keep on saying he's the weak link. Maybe it's a bit harsh because Jesus got a 1-pointer. And I would have maybe a few concerns about him going forward because, he's owned by 80% of the game. But maybe you could get Tony for a bit cheaper. And Jesus isn't a consistent finisher. I think he's a good player. He's making an impact on Arsenal. But I'd be a bit worried about his kind of consistent goal output. But look, I'm not saying to sell him, by the way. It's just kind of something to think in the future. And yeah, you can see there, Salah is the biggest disappointment of the week for sure. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people saying thinking to change Salah. I'm going to discuss this in the transfer tips. Just to kind of summarize, I still would keep him. Yes, it's kind of tempting to go to Haaland maybe for 2 free transfers or -4, or going to De Bruyne, but I still think I'd hold off a little bit. So much for Kane doesn't score much in August. Well, yeah, I mean, he has scored in August before. I think he broke that kind of duck recently. I'm not sure if it was like 2 years ago. But yeah, look, still. Kane still, I don't think he's been that great so far this season. I think this was his best game today. But against Chelsea, for example, he was awful, but he got that goal. And it's actually now Son that's starting the season very poorly. 4 games, no goals. He looked pretty pissed off when he came off. Yeah, Salah shut the bear. That's a great way of summarizing that. Let me try to go through some other questions and comments that I wasn't able to a bit higher up. Hi, Dylan, on 59 points says Sneo Master, I think it is, YT, with Kane getting 3 bonus points on 214 overall. Yeah, look, you've asked this question, I think, in the past few weeks. I'm going to say the same thing. Of course, you still can finish in the top 50k because it's still so early on. We're 4 game weeks into the season, mate. Honestly, you still can. It's not a good start, of course, but there are some great managers in the kind of lower ranks. Honestly, I'd be very patient, be calm. 59 points isn't a bad score this week. And, maybe you don't have Haaland. And considering you don't have him, potentially that's a good week for me. So just try to be patient. You still can definitely do it. And you can even get a higher rank than that. Been plain sailing recently, but waiting to see how Haaland is managed versus Forest. That is still a concern for me, and this is where the dilemma comes, and you could say the same about a few other assets that delivered this week. It now makes it a bit more difficult to get rid of them. I really like Haaland whenever he starts. I said this before. I prefer him over Kane if they get the same amount of minutes, but the problem is I don't think that's going to be the case, and that's why Kane is just going to get those more starts, more minutes, and therefore he could be the better option going forward. But it's very hard for us to say at this point because what is Conte and Guardiola going to do in the Champions League as well? So very interesting stuff. I think go for one and stick to them. On the wild card, it becomes trickier. But yeah, I think Kane is the safer option for sure. I agree. Saka replacements. Look, he did get an assist yesterday, but he's been so underwhelming. He's been probably Arsenal's most disappointing player from a fantasy perspective. You could go to Diaz, and he's been quite surprising. He's been getting these goal contributions, which, I've been saying, I want to see a bit more from him first before I kind of recommend him. He's doing it at the moment, but he just played Bournemouth, the worst team in the league. Let's see how he does in the weeks to come. Newcastle's much tougher. I expect Diaz to do well, but yeah, I think he is a good purchase. There's still Maddison, for example. Let's see if he recovers from injury. Gundogan is great at 7.5, 7.6. I'm just concerned about his minutes from time to time, as we saw. I mean, I was surprised to see him benched, but there you go. And Zaha, once he's back fully fit, he's a great choice. Do not forget Rodrigo. Just one bad game against Brighton, who are looking very good at the moment. And Pascal Gross is looking fantastic too. What's your team value at the moment? I think it might have gone up to 100.5 overall because of the transfers I've already made. I'll be discussing that very soon. Perisic to start Game Week 5. Great question. Before this deadline, before the game today, I would have said no. But I've kind of changed a little bit here, and I think he will, just because he came off so early around the 60th minute mark. I think Conte did that just to have him ready for the next few games. I think he's going to start. Hi Dylan, need to finally get rid of Bailey. Would you bring in Grosh or Harrison? Last week, I'm not going to deny it, I would have said Harrison, but another great performance by Pascal Grosh. That has made me sway my kind of feelings towards Pascal Grosh. However, Rodrigo would be my preference if you had enough money. And because you can't afford it, that's fair enough. I'd go for Pascal Grosh. But it's very close, by the way. It's still very close. They're all great options around that price. Thank you, Patrick. What about Salah and De Silva out for Sterling and Diaz? No, not for me, honestly. It's not a bad choice. Sterling looked very impressive against Leicester, could have scored more goals. And Diaz is looking fantastic. Great cover, potentially, for Salah at the moment. But I wouldn't do that. I still think it's worth keeping Salah and just do the other transfers that I recommend. Obviously, it's your team. You might actually do better from what you believe. Back your gut. but I wouldn't do it personally. Walker into Cucurella, Gabriel for -4, Dylan. I wouldn't do it for a -4, but I would look to get rid of Walker in the weeks to come. I'd be a bit concerned about him. Welcome, Hayden. Hey, Dylan, do you think Walker will play both midweek and the weekend? No. I think Sergio Gomez will get a game. That's just my opinion, though, and it's very tough to tell, but I think Sergio Gomez gets a game. Thoughts on Eze? I like him as a player, but as an FPL asset, I still wouldn't go for him. The only Palace attacker that I really like is Zaha, so it's as simple as that. I'd rather go for Rodrigo, Harrison, or Pascal Grosch around Eze's price, to be fair. Hi Dylan, got 79 points this week. Very good score with a -4. Do you think Silva to Grosch is good or bad? No, I think it's good. The only thing is, obviously, if you already have a lot of players to cover, so you've got very good squad depth, and then you'll have like 3 good players on your bench, that will be a bit of a concern. But otherwise, I'd do it. I think Grosch is a huge upgrade. Ramsdale blocks my entry to Zinchenko. A very good point that you raised there, Singh. Saliba with his poor ceiling feels like the biggest thorn that needs to be taken care of. Thinking Robbo to Williams and De Silva to 7.5 mid, or just Pascal plus Dunk. All good options. I would try to get a stake in the Brighton team, and you could go for that. Dunk in goal, in the defence. You could go for Sanchez in goal and go for Pascal Grosch in the midfield, or Trossard. They're all great options. That's a really good point that you make with the Ramsdale thing, because that is what has played a really big part in my thinking with my transfers. As much as Ramsdale has done all right, his ceiling isn't that high at the moment, and I would rather go for a cheaper player like Saliba to cover him, who will probably score a similar amount, if not more points. And then you have Zinchenko, who will probably get back in the side against Villa, and he also has more attacking threat and will probably score more points. So really good stuff that you mentioned there. In terms of what you should do, I think they're all kind of good options. Getting the 7.5 million mid, you're probably limited to Zaha, Rodrigo, Grosch in that case. Gundogan's a bit more expensive than that. But I like Pascal and Dunk. I can't lie to you. Thank you for the super chat there. Das, thank you very much. Perisic and Arch out for Patterson and Alvarez. No, I wouldn't do that. The forward that I prefer around Alvarez's price is definitely Mitrovic. I wouldn't go for Alvarez. He will get the occasional start, but you know, apart from those kind of minutes or games where he is going to get the starts and he can get some nice returns, he's a good, neat player. I still just don't think it's worth it. I'd rather go for someone who's nailed Tony, Mitrovic, etc. And Patterson in for Perisic. I ultimately think you're maybe downgrading your team. Perisic is a big expected minutes concern, but I honestly think you shouldn't do that, but it's my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm just not really feeling it. Yeah, Odegaard looks good. I talked about skipping him last week. I'm surprised he scored yet again. It was a deflected goal. I have to say his overall performance was very encouraging, and you could make the case that he's definitely looking like the better option than Saka, no doubt about it, and maybe even better than Martinelli, but I still think Martinelli in the long run is better, although Odegaard is more nailed, so it's a tough one. Maybe I was wrong on that. I will obviously keep on watching Arsenal, seeing and reassessing. But yeah, he is looking impressive. And he was added to the watch list last week, despite being in the skip section. But I still think there are better options from Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli is still my preference. The defenders like Saliba and Zinchenko, and even Ramsdale in goal. But I'm willing to admit if I'm wrong, and I could be about that one. Should we stick with Salah? I believe so. And I'm going to discuss this again in more detail in the transfer tips. I'll be discussing my transfers very soon. Just going to go through 3 more questions first. So yeah, Ryan's comment as well. Kane and Haaland and Salah, who do you think should be captain? I think they're all great options. Haaland, if he starts, is the best, but he's also the least likely to start of those 3. He could get a rest against Forest, so it's really tough. Kane is playing a feisty London derby against West Ham. They absolutely hate each other. Salah's playing Newcastle, which isn't easy, and of course, a lot of us will have lost faith in him. I think Haaland is the riskiest, but he has the highest ceiling, and that's where I'm leaning at the moment. But as I just said, if you captain him and he comes off the bench or something, you'll probably be very frustrated, and it's possible. Hi Dylan, any opinion on Mount replacement? Just like I said with Saka, I would look towards Maddison or Diaz around the same price, and then you can maybe go to Gundogan, Zaha, Rodrigo, Grosch. I would go to any one of those options. It just depends what kind of budget you're looking at in terms of your replacement. Harrison to Grosch, or do I hold? I wouldn't do kind of a switcheroo there. I would just stick Harrison because he's got some good fixtures coming up, some very good fixtures, and they're both looking great. Grosch maybe a bit better so, and Brighton are looking fantastic, but Leeds are still offering great value. I wouldn't make that switch, to be fair. 83 for me, wildcard active. Wow. Good score. But yeah, fair enough. I mean, the wildcard active, I will try to get a wildcard team video out, but as you can see, we literally just have, less than 2 days for the deadline, and I still need to get the transfer tips video as well as the team selection, where I'll discuss all of my moves even further. Is 65 points good for this game week? I think it's decent. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a good score. Yeah. Do I still hold on to Son or get Kane for Haaland then replace him? It's a good question. I talked about holding Son last week. I thought he'd score today. He didn't. He's been very frustrating. I think the goals will definitely come with him, but you have all these other premiums, De Bruyne, who did blank in the last week, but still very good overall. You've got Haaland, Kane, Salah, who is still a great option. It becomes more difficult to keep him. I think I would probably do that and go for a kind of striker, a premium striker, and also have a premium midfielder if you can. So try to go for that structure. But it's all down to what you want. Rodrigo, Martinelli, I still prefer Martinelli, but both are very similar level. Just like I said last week, I haven't changed my mind despite the fact that they both blanked. Congratulations for double Liverpool defence. Thank you. I mean, it is Bournemouth. I kept on saying this in my team selection. I just can't bring myself to get rid of one of these players when they're playing Bournemouth at home. Now, I didn't expect 9-0. I don't think any of us did, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us were still surprised by the Trent 17-pointer. And those that captain in fair play. I saw some people talk about this in the deadline stream, and I said, no, I'd rather captain Salah. And that's why sometimes you need to back your gut and not listen to me. I'm just offering my opinion, and I'm saying it, just the way I see it, and it could be wrong sometimes. Rodrigo, Martinelli, oh sorry, I just answered that. Mount or Zaha? Zaha for sure right now. He's cheaper. Just wait for injury news, and if he's back for Brentford, I'd do that for sure. Jensen or Andreas, what do you think, Dylan? I'd actually rather have Andreas because you can bench him anyway, and I'd rather start other players. But in terms of having him start every single week, if you need that midfielder, then it would be Jensen. So hopefully that clears up the question. Very good score, Neil. 95 points, Captain Haaland, and no Salah. High risk. Yes. The thing is, Salah will get some returns in the weeks to come, and it will burn you, but you can't have everyone. So that's completely fine, and you did very well this week. It's a great score. Congratulations, mate. 5 points off the 100 as well. You're going to get it soon as well. Hi, mate. Start Saliba or Perisic. Next week, I think Arsenal have a better chance of a clean sheet, but Perisic, he can get a return. His attacking threat is looking very good. So I would say Saliba if you want to play it safe, but I think they're both great options. Maybe start both if you can. Stick or sell Son. Look, I think he will start producing, but it is worth selling to maybe go for Haaland or Kane. It just depends on which players you have or don't have. What do you think about Isaac? The same as I said yesterday. Obviously, we haven't seen him yet in the Premier League. I don't think he gets enough goal contributions, at least at his time in Real Sociedad and in Sweden. So I'd be a bit concerned about him as an FPL asset. But definitely, I think in terms of his overall play, he can help Newcastle be a better team. And he's a good kind of cover for Callum Wilson. Hey Dylan, 84 this week, good score. What news about Zinchenko? It was just a precaution. So Thomas Partey was out with a tight thigh. And I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what they said about Zinchenko, but it's literally just a precaution, so he should be good. And the way Tierney played, obviously he's just coming back from a long injury. I think Zinchenko starts the next game, and Arsenal will kind of try to maintain the same starting 11 every single week. They got Man United in the weekend. That should be a great game as well. Have 2 free transfers, Haaland to Kane. That is the problem, though. Look, before, it's very difficult. Before yesterday, I would have said, yeah, it makes sense, expected minutes and everything. But there is also the odd possibility that Kane also gets maybe fewer minutes. He'll get subbed off a bit early and maybe get a benching. Obviously, it's unlikely. And Haaland's definitely a much bigger rotation risk. But I don't know, it's very hard for me to say sell Haaland after what he did. And I think as long as he gets any minutes, even a half an hour cameo or a 60-minute appearance, I think Haaland just outscores most players in the game. Right now, I'd say keep Haaland, but just bear in mind he is going to get rotated. 68 points, Salah captain, burn me. Yeah, same here. I'm pretty much in the exact same situation as you, Lucas. I feel for you. Rodrigo, Gundogan. It's tough to compare, different price points. I would probably go for... I still think I'd go for Rodrigo, but it's really close. I hope Rodrigo isn't the new Antonio Benrahma from last season, but that is still my preference at the moment. Perisic or Dunk? Probably Perisic for the attacking threat, but he's obviously going to get more benchings than Dunk. Saka to Diaz and Robert to James, or Meslier and Nico Williams to Sanchez and Raya Veltman. Definitely Sanchez over Raya for me, despite the fixtures. I'd rather do Saka to Diaz and Robert to James, to be fair, FPL Hawk, but they all look good. Is Diaz's price projected to go up? We can check that now, and then very soon we'll be talking about my team selection, but like I already said, I'll be making a dedicated video for that, so be sure to tune in. Within the next day or so, I'll try to get it out, the team selection. But let's get the price changes up, and it has played a part in terms of my early transfers, although I don't really like price rises too much. But yeah, Luis Diaz, let's search for him now. He's only at 20.6%, so you would argue that he's not going to rise before the deadline. But I think at the rate he's going, more and more people will bring him in tomorrow. So yeah, not today. I'd be very surprised if he goes up today, but maybe around Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday morning, basically. So the prices change around 1 a.m. Or 12:30, I think, something like that. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 1:30 a.m. UK time, around that. Oh, okay, my bad for that. Jesus, I don't know why this wasn't working. I just literally had a black screen. My apologies for that. Not sure why that happened. But yeah, as I search here with Diaz, he's at 20.6%. Diaz second goal cost me 100k rank. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he produced the haul and Salah was so useless. I mean, the chances Salah missed as well, that really rubbed me the wrong way. But kind of a saving grace for me anyway was having Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, no problem, FPL Hawk. Yeah, thank you for those that let me know that was a black screen. I'm not sure why that happened. I checked everything before starting, but there you go. My apologies. Kane cost me more than 10 points today. Really unlucky. Would be easily 17 points and assist for Perisic and probably bonus points. Oh, yeah. I'm actually grateful that Henderson saved the penalty because, yeah, Perisic is just a thorn in my side. Rodrigo was playing even when Bamford was fit. Yeah, it's just maybe a bit of a different role. That's why people are concerned. A lot of Leeds fans think that he could drop out of the side. I still think he'll play, but just maybe not in the same role. Ramsdale to Sanchez or stick? Well, it's funny you should say that. You know what? I'll answer it not with words, but with actions. So let me show you my team selection. Hopefully you don't laugh too much at my decisions. I mean, how often do I do this? A goalkeeper transfer. Ramsdale out for Sanchez. It is a luxury move, I will admit. But saving that 0.4 million and also potentially opening up the possibilities of getting another Arsenal attacker or, more importantly, a defender who I think will get more points than Ramsdale is the way to go. And the way Brighton are looking, you know, right up there in terms of expected goals conceded and the best defences. So are Arsenal, to be fair. But Sanchez also has those saves and bonus points. And when you couple that with his cheaper price, I think he's the best goalkeeper in the game right now. I talked about him the best budget goalkeepers in pre-season, and I thought he was the best around 4.5 million, but I can't lie, I didn't expect him to be this good. Obviously, we're just 3-4 game weeks in, so let's see how he does in the future. Fulham's not going to be an easy game, so you could argue that I've basically kind of maybe downgraded for this game week. Ramsdale probably has a better chance of a clean sheet against Villa, but let's wait and see. I've gone for Sanchez, and that is the decision I've taken. In terms of the defenders, I'm going for a back five again. Cucurella, James, both facing Southampton away. And to be fair, if it wasn't for Gallagher getting a red, you could argue that Chelsea could have kept a clean sheet. And Leicester, yeah, without Maddison, they're a bit hopeless. Tielemans played very well. And then I've got the double Liverpool defence against Newcastle at home. And despite how good they did against Bournemouth, I'm still considering selling Robertson in the weeks to come. I could do something like Robertson to Saliba, for example, and that also opens up so many possibilities for me in other positions, which I'll get onto very soon as well. Cancelo at home to Forest, I think that's a great fixture, and City should do pretty well and keep a clean sheet finally. Hopefully Cancelo doesn't get a yellow, which he loves to do this season. In terms of other players, I've got 3 midfielders, and I've made my second transfer here. Neto finally out, and this was made yesterday, by the way, because I just don't trust Wolves offensively. So Neto is out for Grosh, and I've gone for double Brighton. That Fulham game will be a bit tough, and as I said many times, my preference is to kind of get away from that price, but I think that's what I would be looking to do with Bailey instead, and that will also include downgrading Robertson. But I just really like the look of Grosh. He should have got more assists and more points. Fantastic performance against Leeds. And there's also Rodrigo and Harrison. They're all similar level, so don't worry too much about that. Salah at home to Newcastle, I'm happy to keep. But to captain, that's a different story at the moment. Martinelli at home to Villa as well looks good. He had so many shots against, almost forgetting the team already, Fulham, and also several chances created. But Martinelli was a bit frustrating yesterday, I will say that. And the forwards speak for themselves, Erling Haaland and Gabriel Jesus. That's not going to change. And in terms of the captain, it is Erling Haaland, but it's very risky. I'm not going to deny that. And I'm not even sure if he starts the game. So that will be the main concern. I've got Andreas at home to Brighton to counteract that and potentially come on if needed. But I think Haaland will get minutes. So he could come on for a one-pointer. That will be the big risk I run with captaining him. So let me know what you think of the team selection. I'll be discussing this in more detail in the team selection video. But there you have it. That is how I'm looking like at the moment. And let's show you a few different other things. Yeah, just a few other screens before we go back to your questions. So we're going to go now to predicted points, which is always nice to see. and De Bruyne and Haaland are top, although De Bruyne is leading by himself 8 points compared to Haaland's 7.4. And then you have the likes of Salah also with the same points as Haaland. So you could argue Salah is still a worthwhile captain. A lot of people will have lost faith in him because of what happened yesterday, but he's still a good choice for the captaincy. We can't deny that. Trent as well is up there. Cancelo, Sterling, Foden, Kane, Son, James, Fernandes, Diaz. Then you have a few others like Stones, Vardy, Robertson, etc. But as you can see, the algorithm mainly backs City and to a certain extent Liverpool and you could say Spurs and Chelsea. So yeah, Arsenal players aren't ranking too highly on this list, but I wouldn't really captain their players at the moment, not even Gabriel Jesus. Thoughts on transferring Neto? I've got 0 in the bank. Well, you're kind of limited there. So I'd rather maybe wait another week, have 2 free transfers and get rid of Neto that way. Because at 5.3 and below, you just don't really have too many choices that I'd want to start most weeks. Yeah, I've already sold Neto myself. You reckon Grosh can maintain this form? Yeah, I can see why you're not convinced. I did have him in Sky Fantasy Football, I think, in the 17-18 season. It must have been his first season at Brighton. I can't remember correctly, but yeah, he was very impressive then. And just the way he's playing, I think he can continue it for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. Do I think he's going to do it for the rest of the season? Maybe not, but I think he's a good kind of short to medium term purchase. And I'm probably going to wildcard around the game week 9 mark. So I still like him, to be honest. And also another thing that we have to consider are the fixtures. And Brighton, I mean, it is a bit tricky because if you look in terms of the fixture difficulty over the next 6, it's not looking too great actually, but it's mainly because of the Liverpool and Tottenham games. For the next 4, if we kind of change it to that, so from game week 5 to 8, so let's just change that, Brighton will then be right up there in second. So I still like Grosh. I think he's a good purchase, and around game week 9, I can wildcard him out anyway, or transfer him out. But I think he's a good player around that price. Do I prefer him over maybe Zaha or Gundogan? Not necessarily, but I saw an opportunity and I want to go for Brighton players. I got 69 points too. Yeah, high five. Yeah, not a bad scoreline, isn't it? Yes. Should I sell Salah? No, not for me. Maybe a poll for Salah out or keep. That's a good idea. So what to do with Salah? We'll put as the poll. Hold or sell? That is going to be the poll. Be sure to vote. That's a good idea by Iceman. Thank you very much. What? Okay, so there you go. 99 points. Yeah, that's a really nice round. Not sure if you're a bit frustrated that you didn't get 100, but 99, I wouldn't be complaining at all. Rayo Sanchez. Sanchez easily for me. And one thing I want to go into, actually, let's go into this now, is the stats. So I think it's this one. Yeah. I'm not sure why this has kind of removed all of my screens for some reason, but here we go. Spurs, I don't think their expected goals conceded is updated, but what we really want to look at really is Brighton. Look how good they are in the top 4, maybe potentially top 3. I'm not sure if Spurs will have fallen behind them in terms of expected goals conceded. Arsenal, City, Brighton and Spurs have the best defences in the league right now. And you look at Brentford, they're in the bottom 3. And I said this, in pre-season as well, I don't really trust them defensively, and I think they might struggle this season. Tony I still like, and I think he's looking great, but Raya, I just don't really like him as an option. He made a lot of saves and he can still get those kind of extra points for saves and bonus. So he can maybe get 3 or 4 even when they concede. But I would rather go for Sanchez right now. I think Brighton look much better, and that will be my answer to you. Wilson Isaac, like I said before, as an FPL option, I wouldn't really consider him right now. Just one to keep an eye on, but 6 goals in La Liga last season and 4 the season before that. Not that impressive. Do you think Haaland will start the next game? I'm kind of running the risk. Honestly, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm not sure if he does. So I'm literally taking a gamble right now, but I might change before the deadline. Yeah, honestly, Singh, it's a bit surprising you could say, but I thought they'd be in the bottom 5. Maybe not bottom 3, but yeah, they just haven't looked that great defensively. And, they even conceded to Everton, for Christ's sake. But what really surprises me is Chelsea, actually. I've got double Chelsea defence and 7 expected goals conceded. Absolutely awful. And before this game, Bournemouth were like mid-table. They weren't that bad, but the Liverpool game really skewed them, and they're by far the worst defence in the league right now. So there you go. I think the top 4 teams don't surprise me at all. It's probably what I would have said. Even Brighton, funnily enough. But yeah, it's an interesting list for sure. And Brentford, I just can't really see myself getting in Raya. I much prefer Sanchez at the moment. But watch Ryan now get the clean sheets and Sanchez concede the goals. Fulham's not an easy game at all, to be honest. And now let's look at a few more stats. So Grosh versus Neto. So my transfer out and my transfer in. There is a big difference, to be fair. Neto should have maybe got a return. You know, he's been a bit unlucky in that regard, but Wolves are awful. You know, Bournemouth is a great fixture, so I wouldn't be surprised if Neto gets the points finally, but I still think Grosh is a much better long-term purchase, and I'm happy to have made the transfer right now. Yes, maybe I could have done things a bit differently, got rid of Robertson and bring in, for example, Zaha if he's fit, Gundogan or Luis Diaz, and maybe do Robertson to Saliba. I could have done that as well, but it's something I'm looking to do in the next few weeks. I really like Brighton at the moment, and I think they will continue their unbeaten run for the next few games. And another thing here is the top 10k captains. As you can see, Salah is top. So don't worry, he was the most popular captain for a reason this week. His team scored 9 goals, and how many times is he going to miss an open goal? I mean, that's one of the worst open goal misses this season, or probably in the whole year, in the last few years. But there you go. Jesus, Haaland also making the top 3. Those Haaland captainers, I mean, absolutely feasting right now. So fair play to all of you. But yeah, those are the key stats from this week. And also Kane captainers doing a pretty good job. And looks like this season, captaining strikers, especially those two, is potentially something to look at more often than not. Last season, I would have said no at all, because they just aren't consistent enough. But yeah, this year is a bit of a different kettle of fish, really. So let's now go into the FPL website. And as you can see, there you go. I'm not lying. I've made the transfers already, and we'll be discussing this more later on. Grosh clear. Of who though? Oh, best option of Grosh, Rodrigo, Harrison. It's very close between all 3 of them. Before the last game, I actually said Rodrigo is the best, then Harrison, then Grosh. The only thing I would change is maybe Grosh in second place, but it's very close. I couldn't actually afford Rodrigo, so I've gone for the German. I'm on wildcard and sold Salah for KDB. Yeah, on a wildcard it makes sense. Is Walker a reliable starter? He has been this season, but I think it will be a concern longer term. So I would actually look to go for another defender. I prefer Zinchenko. I think he's more likely to start. Also Perisic, despite his minutes concerns. I think there's much better defenders around the same price. Also Trippier, if he's fully fit. Perisic or Robertson? Reluctantly, I would say Perisic for the weeks to come, but Robertson will probably get more starts. The thing is, though, as we saw against Bournemouth, he can also come off a bit earlier, around the 60th, 70th minute mark. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, by the way. It's good to see so many of you here. I'm going to check very soon what the figure is exactly, but if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this stream to over 200 likes. It'd be much appreciated, and we're very close to 13,000 subscribers. We're making a lot of headway recently. So yeah, almost 300 people watching. Thank you very much. Let's keep on liking the video and answering your questions, as always. So thoughts on the race today? It was a fantastic race. Well, okay, maybe not. Let me sort myself out. It was a fantastic start to the race, and I actually thought Verstappen could win the game, the race, sorry. From 14th even. It's just absolutely bonkers, though. The Red Bull had such a clear race advantage over the rest, and Ferrari, I mean, what were they doing with Leclerc? Even at the end, kind of giving away that 5th place finish. The Hamilton-Alonso collision was the best part of the race, the reaction as well. But yeah, it was a good race overall. Maybe a bit boring because we all know who was going to win, but that's how F1 was for so many years with Mercedes and Hamilton, to be fair. Feel like I'm going to captain Haaland vice Salah. Seems like Man City have best fixtures, but it's Salah after all. Thoughts? No, that makes complete sense. I'm doing the same thing right now. But Salah is more likely to start than Haaland. I think Haaland could be benched in Gameweek 5. That is the big concern. But if you want to run the risk, I think it is worth it because he has a higher ceiling than Salah this week. Welcome, Kobe. Finished on 72 points. Yeah, it's a good score, and good to see you getting a green arrow, and hopefully it continues. Got 64 points. Captain Salah and the wild card. Not a bad decision, to be honest. How do you get the away kits? It's just a Chrome extension. Yeah, so I'll try to get the link for you, but yeah, it's very easy to find, I think. If you just type in FPL away kits Chrome extension, it will be one of the very top options. Perisic or Gabriel? It would be Perisic, but Gabriel will start more games for sure. Should I hold Mount? I'd sell him, and I'll talk about this in the transfer tips. I said to hold him a few weeks ago. I thought he would get some returns by now, but it's just not looking good. Perisic plus Pascal versus Williams plus Gundogan, Tony Mitrovic, Robbo plus 4.5 out. It's close, but I'd probably go for Perisic and Pascal, Singh. I'm just not too sure if he's going to start. Should I sell Salah for Diaz and then upgrade my striker to Tony? I would still keep Salah. I would still keep him. Maybe I'm being a bit kind of stubborn, but I still think it's a great option. Against Southampton, Mount is okay or sell. This is the problem. You know, he's facing Southampton. They're absolutely awful. You never know when Southampton are going to win a game, maybe 3-1 or lose 9-0. So you could keep him for this week, but there's so many other choices around the same price and below that are doing even better. So in the long run, you will benefit, even if there is a bit of short-term pain. Mount can definitely produce against Southampton, but I would ultimately sell, whether it's now or next week. It's up to you. Should I wildcard only got 44 points, or should I wait for the fixture swing? I'm not sure what your team is, so it's very hard for me to judge, but I think in most people's cases, it's a good team. It's just a bit of bad luck, you could say, and also just a case of kind of variance. And it's very early on in the season, and, you know, we've got, you know, people like Rodrigo, Grosh looking like the best midfielders. That's not going to be the case at the end of the season, so I would wait for more information before wildcarding if you can. I fancy Rodrigo still. I think he's a good option. His stats are incredible. I just couldn't afford him with the changes I made. I could have maybe done something else and gone a different route, but I'm pretty happy with Grosh. And it's just I back Brighton more than Leeds, and that's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment, rather than backing Grosh over Rodrigo. Should I get Kane for Tony? I still think Tony's a great choice. I probably wouldn't do that. Also, Bernardo Silva, he scored in every game he's started in the Premier League so far this season. He's actually going to be a skip, a bit of a spoiler alert, in the transfer tips video. He's not a bad choice, but I think there are better options out there, including Gundogan. I did answer your question if it was earlier. I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible, mate. What are your thoughts on West Ham as a fixture? I mean, they are looking pretty poor still. You know, they finally scored their first goal, got the first win against Aston Villa, but no shots on target, I think, in the first half. But I still think they will maybe cause some problems and maybe try to be resolute defensively against Spurs, and they're going to be right up for it. That's the thing. So it should be a good game. Still would fancy Spurs to score a few goals, probably 2 or 3, and I think Kane will do well. KDB captain, I think he's still one of the best options this week, and I'd actually rather captain KDB than Haaland this week. Ramsdale De Silva to Sanchez and Grosh for a -4, not for a -4. So you got the same 2 players, or you would be getting the same 2 players as I have, but for a -4, no. I just don't think a hit is worth it when a goalkeeper's involved. Best option, I've Zinchenko, Cucurella, Perisic. It's tough. I still think Zinchenko, but Perisic will get the most attack and returns from the free, I think. What do you think about Jack Harrison? I think he's a great option around his price, and he'll probably get the most assists, or one of the most, around players, you know, between 6.5 and 4.5, let's say, for example. Yeah, I could see why you want to bring him in. I think he's a good choice, but I do prefer Rodrigo. And, you know, I said this last week, I'm going to say it again. I just really like how Rodrigo's doing right now. Veltman, Dunk, or Estupinian? Estupinian will have the most kind of assist threat, and he probably should have an assist already. Dunk will have the most goal threat, and he's the most nailed. I would go for Dunk personally, but they're all good choices. Saka to Diaz Dylan, yeah, I'd probably do it reluctantly. However, I mean, to be fair, I said this last week against Fulham. I think Saka will get a return against Villa. But, I mean, to be fair, he did get an assist. He did get an assist. I want to play Grosh for next week, and who should I summon for? Odegaard, Martinelli, Walker, or Perisic? Good question. I mean, I wouldn't bench Walker at home to Forest, but I don't like him in the long term, and that's why I wouldn't go for him. Odegaard's in great form. I mean, this is tough. I wouldn't bench any of them, to be honest. But at the same time, I wouldn't bench Grosh. I'd try to find someone else. I'm not sure if that's even possible for you. If I really had to pick one player to bench, it probably would be Kyle Walker, but he's also got the best chance of a clean sheet out of him and Paris. It's really a tough question to ask, and I can see why asking it. Saliba or Gabriel? Right now, Saliba because he's cheaper, but Gabriel's more nailed in the long term. Thank you, Singh. Yeah, we can definitely do that. We're on 81 likes and just under 300 people watching, so let's keep on smashing the like button. It's much appreciated. This might be a bit of a shorter stream than usual. You know, we tend to go for around 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but yeah, there's so much content to cover. Yeah, in terms of UCL fantasy videos, I obviously I appreciate those that are waiting for the content, but I mean, literally, we have an FPL deadline on Tuesday, so it's quite tough. You know, I've got to record 2-3 videos for that as well. But I'm going to try to get a UCL fantasy video out, you know, by Wednesday or Thursday, and then the team selection before the deadline. And then, of course, we'll have the deadline stream, not this Tuesday, but the one after the UCL fantasy. So I appreciate your patience, but yeah, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, unfortunately. What do you think about Bernardo Silva? Look, he's a great player, but I don't think he's a great FPL option. And I fell into the trap last season. He had a purple patch, you know, kept producing some big returns, such as against Watford. I got him in, and he didn't do it for me. And I think Gundogan's a better choice, to be fair. Away kits is just a Chrome extension. So yeah, if you just type in FPL away kits Chrome extension, you'll find it. Dunk or Veltman, they're both good. They're both good, but I prefer Dunk still, despite having fewer points, I believe. Should I sell Saka or Robbo? I'd rather sell Saka. I'd rather keep Robertson, to be honest, yeah. Should I do Cucurella to Dunk or Saliba and Neto to Rodrigo? Ooh, I prefer Saliba over Dunk, but they're both great choices. And to be fair, Cucurella away to Southampton isn't bad at all. And Neto to Rodrigo, definitely go for it. If not, you've got Grosh and Harrison. They're all good choices. Is Haaland playing versus Nottingham Forest? I'm 50-50 on it. Honestly, I can't tell you for sure. It's a risky captaincy. That's what I do know. Does your rank concern you? Is it good, bad? It's not good, but it's 4 game weeks into the season, so I'm not concerned at all. But it's not a good rank, of course not. But then, you know, let's actually check this on FPL, livefpl.net. So if we go to this screen here, if you check, you can see all of my ranks here. So after the substitutes, I'm around 1.8 million in the world. I was around 2.2 million, so a bit of a rank gain. Small green arrow. If you can see here, off top 10k, obviously it's kind of a big gap considering it's only 4 game weeks in, but 53 points off the top 10k, I'm 11 points off 1 million, and I'm nearly 2 million. It just shows you that the gaps are just so small right now, and with one really good game week, which I still haven't had yet, I can completely transform my season and also, you know, be in a good kind of trajectory. So So honestly, I wouldn't be concerned, but it's not a good start, of course not. Who should I replace Tanganga with? It depends how much money you're willing to spend, but I think Saliba's a great choice. Also Lewis Dunk if you kind of want to go for someone around 4.5 million. So let's go back to the screen here. You can see my my team. We're going to kind of leave it on the point screen so you can see how I did, you know, the players I have, or had, you could say. Odegaard or Martinelli? I still prefer Martinelli, but Odegaard is definitely looking like the better option in the last 2 game weeks. There's no denying that. Also, doing Zinchenko to Malacia or Dalot? No. Zinchenko will probably start in the next game. Arsenal have a much better defence than United right now. However, there is an improvement with Lisandro Martinez with Varane. But I have to say, United were very lucky not to concede a penalty. I don't know how they didn't give it. McTominay must have handballed it 2 or 3 times. I would still be very concerned about United. Do I stick with Kane or do I run the risk of bringing in Haaland? This is the thing. I think you just stick with whatever you have. On a wildcard, it becomes much more tricky. The way I see it, Haaland is the one with the highest ceiling, but Kane is safer, despite both of them being kind of rotation risks, with Haaland even more so, of course. Would you use your 2 free transfers? I've already used them. So Neto and Ramsdale out for Sanchez and Pascal Grosh. Who to transfer Zinchenko with? I would keep Zinchenko, honestly. Fofana, he could be a decent choice at 4.4 million, but I do prefer Saliba and Dunk, and also Newcastle defenders. However, Newcastle haven't looked that great in terms of the underlying numbers defensively, which did surprise me, although they have faced City, to be fair. Ramsdale, Walker, Neto to Sanchez, De Silva, and Rodrigo for a hit. I mean, Sanchez and Rodrigo is, you know, really good transfers, but once again, a hit involving a goalkeeper, and I also think Ramsdale could outscore Sanchez this week. It's definitely possible. Not for me. Just because of that, it kind of makes me say no. I've already sold Neto, mate. I sold him for Grosh, so that is my plan. It's done. I did it yesterday, and I'm quite happy with it, even though he is facing Bournemouth. Should I wildcard? Like I said, Melvin, I don't know your team, so it's very hard for me to say if you should wildcard or not. But for most people, so kind of a generic answer is no. I'd rather wait a little bit more for more information. So I think it's far too early to wildcard for most people. Thank you, Artemist, I think, or Art Freemist. Thank you very much. Saliba or Dunk? I would go for Saliba. And I'd rather have Sanchez to cover Brighton defence. Worth taking a -4 at this point. For who, though? I'm not sure which players are involved, so it's hard for me to say. Harrison or Rodrigo? Both great, but I prefer Rodrigo. Can't wait for Anthony to come to United. This is the thing. I think it's far too much money, but, of course, he can do well. He knows Ten Hag, and he did very well in the Champions League last season. Get Haaland for a hit. If it's Kane out for Haaland for a hit, no. And also, there's a big chance of Haaland not starting. So, honestly, I think it could backfire. Would you prefer to sell Saka for Martinelli or downgrade Robertson to fund Neto to Rodrigo? Great questions. I think I'd rather downgrade Saka to Martinelli, or you've got a few other choices as well. And then, yeah, you make another great move there, Rafael, from Neto to Rodrigo. So honestly, it'd be Martinelli in for Saka. Should I get Tony or any 8 to 8.5 million midfielders? Both great choices, but I prefer Tony long term. Maddison is my favourite 8 million midfielder. Diaz being second now. He's gone right up in the rankings. But yeah, it's probably Tony for me. Should I get James for Nico or Rodrigo for Bailey? Already have Trent, Robbo, Cucurella, Cancelo, and Grosh. Rodrigo for Bailey's a bigger upgrade, I think. And Nico, you know, you can just bench him anyway. I'd rather do Rodrigo and for Bailey. Who will you play next week? Grosh, Rodrigo, or Gabriel? Out of those three, it's between Grosh or Rodrigo. I wouldn't bench any of them, to be honest, if you can. Haaland or Salah for captain? I'm going for Haaland right now, but honestly, it's really tough because he's also much more likely to be benched in Game Week 5. Diaz or Rodrigo? If you can help it, I would go to Diaz, but it's really tough, and Rodrigo offers better value. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people say this. Lost all trust in Salah. I disagree still. Obviously, it's a really big blow, but there you go. Is Rodrigo captaincy lunacy or a potential winner move? Well, with the form and stats he's showing, it's not lunacy. It's not complete lunacy anyway. I still wouldn't bring myself to captain him because I don't have enough trust, you know, from the seasons gone by. I like to captain players I trust, and he's not really someone I do, despite his incredible form. Also doing Meslier to Sanchez, I think it's worth it because Brighton have a much better defence than Leeds, despite how well Leeds have started the season. I would do it if it's for a free transfer, not for a -4. Can you rank the best or worst captaincy options this week? Assuming that Haaland starts, and that's the big if, and I can't say if he's going to start or not. My gut feeling is that he will, but I could be completely wrong about that. Haaland, I think it'd be De Bruyne first, Haaland second, Salah would still be third, and I would put... It's a good question. I still put Kane fourth and fifth. Mamma mia. Can I put a fifth player in there? Probably Cancelo. That's kind of a quick top 5. I might be forgetting someone. I don't think I'd put Jesus in the captaincy conversation this week. How did Cucurella get 5 points? He got an assist for Sterling. Cancelo captain. I think he's the best amongst defenders to captain this week. Yeah. -4 De Silva to Grosh. I think it's worth it. Yeah, I think it's worth it. Start 2, Grosh, Rodrigo, Saliba. I'd start Grosh and Rodrigo, I think. But Saliba has a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. Villa have looked awful. Who's the best goalkeeper for points? Right now is Sanchez, but do not underestimate Pope, Ramsdale, also Edison. I think they're great choices too. Henderson's looking really good as well because he makes a lot of saves. He can make those penalty saves as well. He saved 3 out of 5 penalties in his Premier League career. Hold, Saka or sell? I'd probably look to sell, but... it's just a matter of time and also how many transfers you have, what your funds are, what you're going to do with the extra money, because I think he could return against Villa. But against United away, that's a good opportunity in Game Week 6 to sell. Rodrigo captain, it's not a bad shout, but I'm not going to go for it myself, and I just can't bring myself to do that. Is it okay to take a -4 this early on in the season? It is, but as I keep on saying with -4s, I wouldn't make a -4 involving a goalkeeper. That's where I cross the line. In most cases, of course. If you're bringing in someone like Salah or Haaland for a -4, then fair enough. But yeah, you should definitely do Neto to Grosh. I've already done it, mate. I've already done it. I know some people, as I see in the chat, saying it's a trap. I mean, I can understand your perspective. You might be right. But I honestly believe with the stats he has, with the performances most importantly of all, I think he can continue. But Fulham is a tough game. It really is. Grosh or Rodrigo? I still think Rodrigo if you can afford it, but it's really close between the two. I'm happy to have Grosh. So that's why I've got him in my team instead of Rodrigo. I think they're both great options. I've only gone for Grosh because I kind of trust Brighton a little bit more, and also Grosh to a certain extent. But so far this season, Rodrigo's the winner. I'm 90% sure Haaland gets rested this game week. Yeah, you could be completely right. If you look at the fixtures and the difficulty of them and the way the Champions League draw is, you probably have the logical explanation. It's really tough to sell Haaland, you know, after his 17-point haul. It could be Alvarez starting here against Forest, and he probably deserves to start anyway. I sold Salah to Sterling. Look, Sterling played really well, but I think that could backfire. Whether it's this week or in the future, I think Salah's still a much better option, but I could be wrong. Liverpool versus City, who's the best? It must be City, honestly. Yeah, it has to be City. You look at the Premier League table as well, it doesn't lie. City have won 3 out of 4 leagues. I think they are the better team. But in terms of FPL, Liverpool have the better options for sure. Grosh is such a scam. Yeah, I saw your comment already. I mean, you could be right. Let's wait and see. Jesus or Kane, if funds available for either? Kane. I think Kane will score more points, and if funds aren't an issue, Kane is just the better option. You know, you can also captain him as well. How likely is a Haaland bench? Quite likely. I can't put a percentage on it, but he's the most likely of the kind of popular captaincy choices to be benched. Ramsdale to Sanchez, Walker to Saliba, Neto to Rodrigo for a hit. It looks really good, to be fair, but what I would do is do Ramsdale to Sanchez potentially, and Neto to Rodrigo for free, and save the Walker to Saliba transfer for Game Week 7 maybe. Because, yeah, maybe Walker will be benched against Forest, and if you think that's going to be the case, then fair enough, it's worth the hit. It's just, it doesn't really rub me the right way, you know, kind of taking a -4, something like that for a goalkeeper. Should I take a -8, sell Robbo to Walker? I wouldn't do Robbo to Walker. I think there are better choices than Walker. Saka to Diaz, yep, that looks good. And Neto to Odegaard, good transfer as well, but I still prefer Rodrigo and Grosh over Odegaard. Who will get the bonus points in the Newcastle Wolves game? Well, it's already done, isn't it? I'm not sure exactly which players. I think Nunes got 1. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Saint-Maximin got 2 bonus points, so I can check that for you now. So yeah, if you just go to the FPL website as well, you can check just by clicking on the result. And here we go. So bonus points, Neves with 3, Saint-Maximin with 2, and Guedes with 1. So there you go, that's the answer. Yeah, yeah, it does make sense to be fair. How Fabian Schär wasn't sent off, I mean, that's another question in itself, but yeah. Another eventful day of Premier League football. Veltman or Saliba? Saliba still for me. Who do you think is the best player for Game Week 5? If he starts, it's probably, well, Haaland and De Bruyne. They'd be my top 2, but honestly, it's probably De Bruyne, just because I'm a bit more confident that he's going to start. Who's your captain for Game Week 5? You can see it here at the moment. It's not set in stone, but it's Haaland right now. Will Rodrigo play if Bamford's back? I believe so, but he won't play the same role. I think he could play a bit deeper as an attacking midfielder or playing as a second striker, so to speak. I went without Haaland and Kane this week, spread the funds, including having Luis Diaz and Kulusevski. Thoughts? There's no right or wrong way of playing FPL. I like that. My preference is to have those kind of reliable players, like a Haaland or a Kane up front, or maybe Salah, De Bruyne midfield. So maybe having 1 or 2 of them. My preference is 2. That's the kind of structure I have right now. But Kulusevski and Diaz are good choices. I would rather go for Haaland or Kane over one of those, though, if you can. Bailey, Robertson, Trippier to Diaz, James and Fofana. For a -4, that looks good. For a -8, that's where it gets a bit tricky. And Robertson, I still think he could do well against Newcastle, despite it being a tough game right now. Fofana, I'm not a huge fan of. I think, look, 4.4 million, it makes him an intriguing option, but I don't think he's going to be that amazing. I mean, I could be wrong, you know. I'm not going to get everything right here. I could maybe lead you the wrong way with some of my kind of advice or opinions, but just looking at how he's done in the past, and I know it's for Leicester, he's never really struck me as a great FPL asset, but that could change at Chelsea, of course. Gundogan or Bernardo? Gundogan for me. But I wouldn't sell De Bruyne at all. I think he's arguably the best captain this week. Are we overlooking Forest? They look to concede a few chances, even if they conceded 2 today. I wasn't that impressed by Forest today. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I think once the new signings gel, I think they will be a better team, and they've made probably the best business of any club, arguably, in the league on paper, considering, you know, where they've just come from. But Dean Henderson's probably my favourite asset that they have to offer. Nico Williams as well, because of how cheap he is. But honestly, right now, it's a wait and see with Nottingham Forest. Is giving the armband to Gundogan while owning Haaland a good shout? Look, it's not a bad shout, to be fair, but I think I'd still rather captain Salah over Gundogan, which might seem crazy, and Haaland himself, of course. But if you don't think he's going to start, then I think Gundogan's a great choice, to be fair. -4 to bring in Grosh this week, or start Andreas or Trippier? It's tough. I think I would save the -4 and start Andreas, but it's not a bad hit. It's not a bad hit at all. And maybe I'm a bit cautious, you know, with these kind of hits, because I try to avoid them when possible. Yeah, Ben, I haven't seen your question. Honestly, I haven't seen your question. There's so many questions and comments here. Rodrigo, Salah, Martinelli, Grosh, Diaz, good? Definitely. I think that's a great midfield, and, well, that's a really good midfield, to be fair. I'm just not sure what your defence and attack is like. I'm split 50-50. Should I go for Haaland, Bailey and Robbo out for KDB, Tony and Saliba? As a trio, that does look better, KDB, Tony and Saliba, but I would probably keep Haaland and not go for the -4 if you can. But if you're convinced that Haaland's not going to start, I think it's worth the -4, honestly. So it just depends on your perception on the lineup. I probably would avoid the -4 because I really like Haaland and Robbo, should they start. Is Neto to Grosh a good move this week? I've done it myself. I think it is a good move. I would just be a bit careful about going overboard with hits if you can, but it's a good move, yeah. Pope, Zinchenko, Robbo, Diaz, James, Martinelli, Salah, Rodrigo, Gundogan, Tony, Kane. That's a really good team, honestly. I don't think I'd wildcard that. Yes, you know, Sanchez is arguably a better keeper, offers much better value than Pope right now, but that could easily change after Game Week 5. Sinchenko, Robo, Diaz, James, Martinelli. I mean, that's a really good defense. Martinelli, Salah, Rodrigo, Gundogan's a great midfield. Nah, I don't think that's worth a wildcard, mate. You just had a bad week. Very unlucky, in my opinion. I wouldn't wildcard. Gundogan or Bernardo? Gundogan, like I said already. Saka to Gundogan, yep, good move. Just be prepared to stomach the benchings, but really good move. Top 3 captains this game week. Assuming they all start, De Bruyne first, Haaland second, Salah third still. Grosh or Rodrigo? Rodrigo, if you have enough money, but it's really close, and honestly, it could go either way. I really like both of them. Should I bring Rodrigo and Grosh for Saka and Bailey for a -4? Yes. Saka could burn you, but honestly, it's a good move. Yeah, long term. Best captain in Game Week 5 for me is De Bruyne. Is this midfield good enough? Grosh, Sterling, Martinelli, and KDB captain. It's a really good midfield, to be fair. I prefer having Salah over Sterling, or maybe an 8 million midfielder like Diaz, but it's a good midfield. It's better than mine, for sure. Bench 1, Gabriel, Martinelli, Rodrigo, or Grosh. Probably Gabriel, but it's quite tricky. What was wrong with Sinchenko? It was just a precaution. He's fine. He should start the next game. If not, he probably will against United. You know, I'd be very surprised if he's out for both games. Should I captain Diaz because he's looking better than Salah? I still wouldn't captain Diaz over Salah myself, but I can see what you mean. And if you're more of a form versus fixtures guy, which to be fair, I normally am as well, it's not a bad choice. Of course not. But I still back Salah to bounce back and do very well. And he's still, for me, top 3 captains this week. So, not for me. Dunk or Saliba? I'd go for Saliba. Is Ruben Loftus-Cheek worth a try? No, not for me. Is Perisic to Cucurella for a -4 good? I wouldn't take a -4 either way. I wouldn't do that. -4 for Nunez. Who are you getting rid of, though? Probably not, if I have to say. No. Newcastle's a tough game as well. Haaland's hat-trick has made him unstoppable from my team, but I'd be surprised if he got more than 50 minutes off the bench. I think he could get half an hour off the bench, to be fair. It's tricky. It's really tricky. You know, I'd love to captain him. If he starts, you know, he's going to get goals. You know, it's as simple as that. But yeah, you know, City have to manage him. They're being very smart with what they're doing. You might be right, but I think he'll get more minutes than that. It just depends on the situation. You know, are City leading? Are they trailing? I'm very unlikely that they will, but who knows? Martinelli or Rodrigo? I prefer Martinelli. Fofana deal done. It's very close to being completed and announced, to be fair. So yeah. Captain Sterling versus Southampton. It's not a bad shout. You know, it might be a really good, you know, outside the kind of typical Kane, Son, you know, all the players we already know about. Not for me, though. Would you do Mendy to Sanchez and De Silva for Grosh? I'm not a big fan of goalkeeper transfers involving a hit, but I think it's worth it, yes. Kane or Salah captain? I'd still go for Salah. I'm still saying it there. You know, I know it's very popular to kind of dig into Salah this week, and obviously we're all frustrated, but I'd go for Salah. Let me try and get the Chrome extension up because I'm seeing a lot of people ask about it in the chat. So 1 second, FPL away kits. Hopefully I can find it. I think this should be it. Yeah, this is the one. So I'm putting the link in the chat right now. Be sure to check it out for those of you that like the away kits. So yeah, just click the link and you'll find it. So we've still got over 300 people watching. Thank you so much to everyone. I really appreciate it. We've got 121 likes. Let's try to get to 200 plus. And if you're new around here and, you know, I've answered your question or you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing. And yeah, we've got like 20 subscribers already in the stream. So thank you very much. We're 700 away from 13,000. So let's keep on pushing. Thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it. I'm not a robot, by the way. I genuinely do mean it. Start Saliba or Cucurella. Cucurella for the attacking threat, and I mean, Southampton and Villa are looking awful, but I think I'd go for Cucurella. 3-5-2 or 4-5-1 formation, 3-5-2, but they're both good. It's just a matter of the players you have rather than the formation necessarily. Swap Salah to KDB before it's too late. I think people are overreacting, honestly. Salah's the best FPL asset of all time. De Bruyne just blanked himself, by the way, despite having a good game overall. These things happen. Obviously, if you're winning 9-0, you know, and the best player in FPL history doesn't return, it just becomes even more frustrating. But honestly, I think people are overreacting. Getting rid of Son finally. Best replacement from Man City? De Bruyne. If not, it's Gundogan. But yeah, that is my top 2. Good day, Dylan. Robbo, Neto to Rodrigo and Saliba, Cucurella or someone else. Looks really good to me. I would go for Saliba just because he offers insane value. Arsenal, you know, for the next 3 or 4, I don't back them for too many clean sheets necessarily, but Saliba's so cheap, he offers good rotation, and Arsenal have been one of the best defences so far. When is a -8 okay? Look, it's a tough question, really, because a -8 could be just as good in Game Week 1 as it is in Game Week 38. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. It just depends on the players you get rid of and bring in, to be fair. 5-3-2 supremacy, yeah. I wouldn't call it supremacy, to be honest, especially with my rank, but yeah. Any update on Zinchenko? It's just a precaution. Even the Dr. Gary O'Driscoll for Arsenal, he said that, he said that he should be fine very soon. Also, Thomas Partey. Son out for KDB or Bruno? Oh, KDB, definitely KDB. I wouldn't go for Bruno just because of one return against Southampton. What do you think of a -4 Zinchenko to Perisic and Foden to Grush? I wouldn't do Zinchenko to Perisic. I'd hold. I think Zinchenko will start. If, I could be wrong about that, but I would go for that. Foden to Grush looks good to me. I would do that for free. Dylan Salo, KDB captain. I'd go for KDB this week. Best defender for 5.6. It's a tough question. I say Perisic reluctantly, but he is also a really big risk for minutes, yeah. Start Dunk or Neto? I'd go for Dunk. The thing is, though, Neto is playing Bournemouth, so if there's ever a chance he's going to get returns, it has to be this one. Son's replacement, Haaland or Kane? Just for the sheer ceiling, it'd be Haaland, but his minutes are a big concern, just like Perisic at the back. Hey, mate, bench Neto or Andreas? I would bench Andreas this week. I'd start Neto. Rodrigo for Mount and Grosh for De Silva for -4, or just do Diaz for Mount? Thank you so much. Thank you, Pat. Really good question. I would probably take the -4, yeah. Especially if you're looking to start the Silva. I think Grosh is a huge upgrade. I'd take the -4. Thank you, Soldier Boy. Thank you. Should I sell Cancelo and get Trent? Honestly, I would still have Cancelo and add Trent to your ranks. I wouldn't do one for the other. For me, I think they're both good choices, so no, I wouldn't swap one for the other. I think Cancelo has a better chance of a clean sheet this week. Is Foden injured? Why would you get rid? I mean, to be honest, Foden, he's not been that bad this season, but there's just much better options for cheaper and also around the same price. It's not like he's a priority sell, but if you can make a huge upgrade in another position, then why not, in my opinion? Henderson and Spurs saved my game week, yeah. Yeah, no, Kane kind of decimated my rank a little bit. I went from 1.3 to 1.7 million, but there you go. It was always going to happen. Henderson did kind of save me a little bit, though. I will say that. What do you reckon Ante's price will be if he signs with United? That's a good question. I think 8.5. Yeah, because if you think about the pricing this year, Sancho 7.5, Rashford 6.5. You could be right. He could be 9.5, especially with the price tag, but he might be similar to those two. So, yeah, I'd say 8.5. Just kind of a gut feeling. Thank you, Nee. Thank you very much. Perisic plus Kulusevski, says Chelsea Blues. Yeah, yeah, I can see why. And if you had Kane as well, then Jesus. Start Trent or Perisic next week? Still Trent for me. Yeah, Newcastle are looking good. That is true. But still, I always prefer Trent over Perisic still, yeah. 2.5 million in the bank. Any thoughts? I can't remember your team exactly because it was kind of further down the line. I'll try to get your team up, but it's a bit of a challenge, I can't lie. Okay, I just got it now. Yeah, like I said, I don't think you should wildcard, but it's just my opinion. In terms of transfers, you don't have Trent. I would do Diaz to Trent. Then again, you do have Robertson already, and you might want to go away from that structure, which is completely understandable, but you don't necessarily need to make a transfer. You could do Pope to Sanchez, as simple as that. It's very, goalkeeper transfers aren't going to gain you too much points, really, especially in 1 week, but that's another idea. I'd probably do Diaz to, Cancelo or Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's the way I would go. Your team looks fine, Melvin. North London Derby has title decided this season. Mate, City will probably win the league. Liverpool, I think, will still finish above Arsenal and Spurs. Obviously, it could be close, but yeah, no, it's only 4 games in. I think Arsenal could finish top 4. They've got a great chance at the moment, but early days, things can change very quickly. They were bottom last season after 3 games. Yeah, UCL fantasy content, like I said, look, I'd love to do it. I wish I could do that and this at the same time, but honestly, it's very hard for me to fit everything in. We've got a deadline on Tuesday, and I've got to do the transfer tips, the team selection, maybe the best wildcard team, which I might save for next week, actually. We've already done quite a few recently. So use your fantasy videos, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. That's when I'm aiming to do it for. Could be before, but I think Wednesday's a realistic target. And there could also be a final team selection video, as well as the usual deadline stream on the 6th of September. So there will be content, but you have to be a bit patient, unfortunately. Obviously, I'd love to do some content right now, but I want to give it thought. I want to do some research, make some notes, and give the best content possible. Grosh for De Silva, really good transfer. I'd do it if you can. Best mid under 5.8. I said this last week. I'm going to say the same again. Grosh for me. Then it would probably be Aronson. He's still up there. Not for me, Eddie. I want to get Bruno in. I probably would still stay clear of United assets, to be fair. Wait, the bottle line? Did I say bottle? Wait, I can't remember calling... Sorry, I'm kind of just thinking of so many things right now with all these questions and stuff. I don't remember saying bottle. Remind me what I said, but yeah. If so, I actually didn't mean to. Don't forget to subscribe and like the stream, guys. Much appreciated. Thank you, Melvin. Thank you very much. -4 for Nunez, thanks. Let me know, Mo, which player you're bringing out. Yeah, because it's very hard for me to say if you should do a -4 for Nunez, and even then, bringing in Nunez, not for me. I don't think I would for a -4. Getting rid of him for -4 for Kane or Haaland, yes, but yeah, it's just a tough question to answer if I don't know which players is involved. I captain Trent. That's even more impressive than Haaland captain for me, but same point, same outcome, but yeah, really good. Who's better, Kane or Haaland? Haaland for me. The only thing is Kane is just more nailed, but they're both great. I would keep Zinchenko, Baza, and I'll talk about this in future videos. Bottling the top 4. I actually don't remember. I was just kind of talking about Arsenal starting the season really poorly last season. And yeah, I don't remember saying that. I can't lie. Maybe I'm bugging. I can't lie. Martinelli to Odegaard. No, I wouldn't do that, mate. Rank the Leeds midfielders. Same as before. For me, Rodrigo first, Harrison second, and Aronson third. Thoughts on Trossard? He's arguably still the best Brighton midfielder. It's between him and Grosh, and he's one of the best around his price. Very underrated. He had a very good end to the last season. I like him for sure, but as Aluminium asks, I do prefer Rodrigo over Trossard right now. Best defender to replace Robertson. I have Trent, Cancelo, James, and Walker. 5.9 in the bank. I think long-term it would be Perisic, but the next 3 or 4 games are tough for Spurs, and he will be rotating at least 1 or 2 of them. So that could be risky. If you want to go for someone a bit more nailed, then I would arguably say Saliba, despite Arsenal having some tough games coming up like United. Thoughts on Trossard as the cheap mid? I like it, Lorenzo. As I just answered before, I think he's a good choice. I just prefer a few others around the same price. Take Bailey out and put Grosh in. I think it's a good move. Luke, I'd do it. I've done something very similar. You sure Haaland will play? No, I'm not. I just got him captain for the upside, and I might change it, to be honest. It's not set in stone, but he is my captain right now. Should I play Trippier or De Silva? I play De Silva this week. I don't expect a clean sheet for Newcastle. Do you think Zinchenko plays the next game? Yes. It was just a precaution, and Arsenal play much better with Zinchenko. Tierney's just come back from a long injury. He's a good left back, but Zinchenko, you know, he's been very impressive so far. Thank you very much, Talib. Thank you very much. Here we go. Confirmed for Anthony. Yeah, just a matter of time. I can't lie. You know, he might be a good signing in the end, but 100 million seems like just an excessive amount. Yeah, Trossard or Rodrigo, Aluminium. I prefer Rodrigo, but it's very close. And Trossard's a great option as well. I should talk about him more. -4 Martinelli out for Rodrigo. No chance. I wouldn't do that. Gundogan as a captaincy option, says Nigel. I have Cancelo, Gundogan, and Haaland from City. I think this week it makes sense, especially if you don't back Haaland to start. I think it's not a bad choice. I still would prefer Salah, though. And I know it sounds crazy. Salah to Diaz, De Bruyne, free some money out elsewhere. If you can see yourself making some really big improvements, then I would do it, but mainly Salah to De Bruyne. I don't think I'd replace him with any other midfielder. Will De Silva get points against Palace? I'd say no, but I could be completely wrong about that. I think Palace are pretty impressive, despite being comebacked. Anthony for 100 million. Man, Ajax Academy is something else, but United have to stop doing this. The thing is, Chelsea's another club as well. You know, if they pay 60 million for Gordon, 75 plus for Fofana, the market's inflated, you know. It's as simple as that. United have always spent big, even with Ferguson. Now it's another level, to be fair, and the signings are poor. I think 100 million is way too much, but Ajax have done a great job, I can't lie. And they'll probably find someone just as good, you know, for free from their academy or something, which is crazy. I've got 2 free transfers this week. Should I sell Zinchenko for Saliba to free some funds? If you are really happy with your team, you're probably going to burn it. If you don't make that transfer, then I would do it, yeah. And I think Saliba offers better value right now. Both good options, though, of course. We're lucky to have Sanchez this game week. Well, I wish I could say the same. I had Rams, though, unfortunately. I just transferred Sanchez in. A goalkeeper transfer is very rare for me, but I thought it was worth it, especially with the future moves I have in mind. Haaland won't start against Forest. Yeah, I completely, well, not completely agree, but I understand your perspective. You might be completely right. He scored against Barca in the week. Pep said he will rest Haaland, and considering Haaland played Barca as well, he'll be rested. Yeah, I'm not sure how many minutes he got in that game, but he came off the bench, obviously won the penalty, which was a complete dive. Yeah, and it's kind of just a captaincy. Looking at the fixture and the form, Haaland's the easy choice, but if you look a bit deeper, you are probably right. You know, it's just a matter of time. Hopefully we get a bit of news. Really, if you look at it and the fixture schedule, Haaland probably should be benched, but if he is, I'm probably looking at the likes of Salah for captaincy. I'm not a big fan of the rest, though. Maybe Cancelo, cheeky punt there. Maybe this week's Trent Alexander-Arnold. Who knows? But I don't have a kind of standout captaincy besides Haaland and Salah. Salah out, Diaz in. Not for me. I'd still keep Salah. Hold Neto. He was impressive when he plays with Jimenez against Newcastle. I mean, look. For one more week against Bournemouth, why not? But ultimately, he's a sell. Welcome, Paul Di Messi. If you had Mount for first 4 game weeks, what would you do with him? It's tough to sell him ahead of Southampton, but I think it's worth selling him whether it's now or next week. I think he's ultimately a sell. How many points do I get for a clean sheet? You get 4 points. Obviously, if a player plays 60 plus minutes, they get, you know, 2 points, and then the clean sheet comes in, so they'll get 6 points overall. But the clean sheet specifically is 4. On 229 points, going terribly, and the thing is, I'm not using bad players. Team is Ramsdale, Trent, Cancelo, James, Perisic, Rodrigo, Salah, Martinelli, Tony Haaland, and Jesus. You said it yourself, Alex. It's not a bad team, and it's a good thing that you recognise that, because, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, I'm going to wildcard out of that. I'm doing poorly. Well, a wildcard isn't always the solution. You know, some people might play the wildcard this week and be completely burned, you know, selling Diaz, I don't know, selling Robertson, Trent, etc. So it's a good team. Just be patient. You'll get more data in the next few weeks. And the more you see, the more you'll adapt to the new season and see who the best assets are in general. But it's a bit of a funny season so far. Perisic or Dunk? I think Perisic, but for this week, it's a bit of a tougher question. But Perisic overall is the better choice. Zinchenko to Saliba for Fana Trippier. Saliba's my preference, but I would keep Zinchenko. Yep. Might Haaland miss the Villa game? Champions League to follow? You could be right. It could be Haaland starting this game, and then he's benched against Villa, and then he plays in the Champions League. Who knows what Pep's going to do? But ultimately, in the next 3 games, including Champions League, Haaland will be benched in one of them. Let's wait and see. KDB for captain, potentially. I would captain him. If he was my captain. If he was in my team, he's my easy captain. I wouldn't even hesitate. Edison or Sanchez? Sanchez. Captain Jesus, not really feeling it this week. And that could be why you should go for it, but no, not for me. Should I transfer Harrison out for Grosh? I said this before. Despite Leeds' really good form, I don't like the idea of doubling up on their midfield. But getting rid of Harrison for Grosh, I mean, because you already have Rodrigo, fair enough. But otherwise, I would just hold Harrison. I think he's a fine option. Thank you. Nice stream. Play Welbeck or Tony this week? Still Tony for me. Still Tony. Thinking of captaining Rodrigo this week. Everton are shocking. Yeah, that's a fair shout. But the thing with Everton is that they don't concede... Well, maybe I'm going to jinx it now. They've only conceded like 1, maybe 2 goals in a game. So they are shocking in general, but they're also quite, you could say, defensive, or trying to do their very best to not concede that many goals in a game. But yeah, I agree. Everton are shocking. And Rodrigo's not a bad shout this week. Should I transfer Haaland out for Kane? Long term, I'd say no. But for this week specifically, you probably would benefit if Haaland's benched. If you have Trippier since Game Week 1, would you keep him or transfer him out for James? If you have good cover who can fill in for Trippier, I would just keep him. I think he's a fine option. But if you have to play someone like Andreas who you don't want to start this week, then sell him for James and you're fine. Welcome, Zane. Rodrigo, Martinelli. Still Martinelli, but it's very close. Rodrigo or Martinelli. Oh, sorry, just... It's a long day. It's a long day. Share for this week against Liverpool or just play Andreas? I'd play Andreas. Cancelo and Andreas for Walker and Rodrigo. Yeah, I remember you. Welcome, Singal. I wouldn't sell Cancelo, especially for Walker, who I'm saying is a sell, in my opinion. I don't think it's a great option long term. I think Sergio Gomez will get some more starts. So As much as I like Rodrigo, not for me. I wouldn't get rid of Cancelo. Thank you, Singh, for the shout out. Yeah, we're very close to 200 likes, which is very, very appreciated. We got 260 people watching, 150 likes. So let's keep smashing the like button. 50 more, and we get to the target. And in terms of subscribers, I think we've also made some headway. But like I said, we're still 600, 700 subscribers away from 13,000. So we'll be getting closer and closer every single week. And thank you very much for that. UCL Fantasy, I mean, the game's already available and the fixtures are all there, so you can make your team. I've already made a video, but that was before the fixtures were announced and the draw was made. I'm going to be making a video, hopefully by Wednesday it will be out, and there will also be a team selection a few days before the deadline, as well as the deadline stream on the 6th of September. I'm seeing a lot of people saying this, actually. Captaining Gundogan, I think it's an okay move, honestly. I really do. Let me just make a change. I want to go through subscribers' questions as well. So we're going to change this. I've also been asked this in the past. So just bear with me for a second. So yeah, I think, yeah, this should all be done. Okay. We'll go through these questions as well. Will Zaha play this week? I have him. Let's wait and see what the injury is saying, but I think he'll be fine and he will play against Brentford, but that's literally just a guess. I don't think it's anything serious, but Vieira did seem a bit coy about that. Thank you, Aluminium. Hope you have a great day as well. Any replacement for Pereira and Bailey? I'm tired right now. So am I. I'm not sure what your budget is, but if you can afford it, Rodrigo, Grosh, Harrison are all great choices to replace them. Do you think El Nino is back into the Arsenal starting lineup? Yeah, cheap enabler, but you don't want to waste an Arsenal slot right now with the form they're in on a 4.4 million midfielder who won't get attacking returns. And Partey only had a tight thigh. He could be back even by the United game or Aston Villa, and Partey will start. You know, there's no doubt about it. The same goes for Odegaard and Xhaka. So honestly, El Neni only plays if one of them is injured, especially Xhaka or Partey. So not for me. Will Trippier get more points than De Silva? I see both of them getting 1 or 2 points if they start. Perisic or Veltman? Long-term Perisic. This week it might be a different answer, but I'm going to go for Perisic. Sanchez is my preference over Edison DLS. With one free transfer, should I sell Ward to Sanchez or De Silva to Rodrigo? Good question. I'll do De Silva to Rodrigo. I think it's just got a higher upside. But Ward to Sanchez is also a good move. You can do that maybe the week after. How much do you trust the expected goals, expected assist stuff? Really good question. I do pay a bit of attention to it, but not too much because, look, football's football. You know, Spurs, for example, players like Son, they have a low XG, but they score so many goals in general. So just take over a pinch of salt. I'd also look at a few other stats, give it a bit of context, and also trust your eyes. You know, watch the football. That's the best thing to do. Saka to Diaz and Koulibaly or Perisic? Perisic over Koulibaly for sure, and Saka to Diaz looks great, beast, yeah. For Gameweek 6, do I sell Tony and cheap mid for cheap strike and Grosh? No. I still prefer Tony over Grosh if you can. I wouldn't do that, Alex. Your team is great, honestly. I would keep patience, I think Tony's a great choice. What do you think about Zaha to Chelsea rumours? I think he'd be a good signing. Just depends how much he's signed for. When Arsenal wanted to sign him, they were asking for like 60, 70 million. Absolutely ridiculous. But this season, and even in 2022 in general, he's been fantastic. The third highest scorer behind Son and Kane. Net replacement 1.3 in the bank. Already have Grosh, Salah, Martinelli. In that case, it's Rodrigo for me. Yeah, you'd be able to afford that. It'd be Rodrigo. Thank you, Singh. And thank you, Melvin. Hayden, if Zaha's fit, then Bailey to Zaha and Robert to Saliba for a hit worth it? Yes, I believe so. As much as I like Robertson, it's a great move. I like it, to be fair. 1 second, I'm going to turn the lights on. I'm going to try stream for a little bit longer. But like I said, as soon as this stream is over, I'm going to be working on some more content. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone for your patience. We're 39 likes away from 200, so keep on smashing the like button. Yeah, this looks really weird, doesn't it? Just a complete dark background. But yeah, there you go. 1 second. So we are now going to show you a different screen, just for those that are new to the stream right now. The highest expected goals conceded. Bournemouth, no surprises there. But look at Brentford in the bottom three. So for those of you asking, Raya or Sanchez, for me it's an easy one. I'd go for Sanchez, and he's also looking really good for clean sheets. Not just that, though, the saves and bonus points, which surprises me. Last season he wasn't that good for that, but a really good start to the season by the Spaniard. He could even be making a claim for the #1 spot for Spain, but maybe that's a bit of a stretch there. As you can see, in terms of the best defences, maybe let me refresh this. Hopefully we get the updated thing for Spurs. So just bear with me for a second. Expected goals conceded, and we are going to go to, let's see. No, Spurs are still 2.6, so that might actually be their figure, unless it's not updated. But yeah, that's Spurs. I mean, Perisic is just looking like an exceptional value whenever he does start. Which team do you support? I support Arsenal in the Premier League, local club and all that. Okay, let's now go to my team again. So here we go. And yeah, if you haven't already, as you can see, you know what to do. All that good stuff to support the channel. If you don't know Salah, would you captain Trent, Cancelo, Jesus, or Rodrigo? I captain Cancelo, actually, from those that you say. Am I a fool for still keeping Mount? No, I wouldn't say so, because he has a lot of credit in the bank from last season, and also he's playing Southampton, who are one of the worst teams at the moment, you could argue. So that's not a bad choice. Would you do Gabriel and Neto to Dunk and Grosh? Yes, I would. But I think Gabriel to Dunk is only necessary if you need that for Neto to Grosh. Robert to be rested against Newcastle. His performances have not been incredible. Yeah, and Simic has 2 assists in 60 minutes. Did more in 60 minutes than Salah. Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility, and I'd be burned by that for sure. I definitely would. So it's a possibility. You could be right there, Singh. Is Robbo Mount to recent DS worth for -4? I think so. If Robbo starts, then it could backfire, but honestly, yeah, it's a good hit. Should I use Haaland for captain? If you back him to start, then yes. I might steer away from it because I have to do some more research, just kind of make some educated guesses, let's say, of what I think is going to happen in terms of Champions League. Will Haaland start in that? If so, which game is he going to bench for? Game week 5 or game week 6? Really tough question to answer. Yeah, Zane, I might not for game week 5 because I've already done it for game week 3 and 4, and the team will be identical. You know, it'd be very, very similar. So I might wait until game week 6, and we only have 2 days for the deadline, and I want to do the transfer tips, the team selection, the usual deadline stream, and also do some UCL fantasy content and prepare for the game week 6 content. So probably not. Maybe for game week 6 or 7 there'll be another wildcard team video. I have a similar team to yours, except I have Zinchenko and Diaz for Robbo and Cucurella. When should I use the 2 free transfers? Good question. It really depends on what you want to do, but you could do Robertson to Saliba, for example, and, well, I'm not sure if you can do that because you have Zinchenko, don't you? Maybe Robertson to Perisic, and then you can upgrade Archer to Ivan Toney or Mitrovic. I'm not sure if you'd have enough to go to Toney, but that's a good set of transfers, I think. Perisic or Veltman, Perisic for me. I can't lie, Game Week 5 wildcard may be the best option, as right now I only got 53 in Game Week 4. But the thing is, your team might be really good. I mean, Melvin, for example, earlier said he got 44 points or something like that, and his team is looking very good. So it's not as simple as that for me. Yet Perisic is a wing in a top 4 club. His crossing is getting up there. It's only a matter of time before I bring him in. I wanted to start the season with him, but he was, predicted to start on the bench, and for that, I didn't start with him. I almost got him instead of Cucurella in Game Week 3. Obviously, it kind of backfired, and Perisic has been incredible. Yeah, he might be my transfer in for Robertson. If not, it will be Saliba, I think. That's what I'm looking to do in the future. I can even do a -4, but I don't think it's worth it this week. Welcome, Janta. Should I keep Walker or sell? Maybe not sell this week, but it's only a matter of time before Walker's a sell for me. And I'll be discussing this in future videos as well. Yeah, if you've got free Arsenal already, then as I keep on saying, Dunk, especially if you don't have Sanchez in goal. Botman, Fabian Schär, Trippier, Cucurella, Perisic. You've got plenty of options. I think Perisic or Newcastle defender or Dunk will be my top 3 because you already have free Arsenal. Diaz to Cancelo or Robert to Trent. Diaz to Cancelo is a better upgrade for sure. Yeah, Guillermo, like I said already, UCL content, yeah, I'd love to do it already, but we've got an FPL deadline on Tuesday, and I've got a few videos to do for that. I'm going to try and get a UCL fantasy video out on Wednesday, and then another one later in the week, and then the deadline stream on Tuesday. So there's more content coming. So let's wait and see. But yeah, I don't want to make promises I can't keep. I'd love to do a video by tomorrow, for example, but very difficult to achieve. Best replacement for Saka? It just depends really on what you're looking to do, but around the same price is definitely Maddison or Diaz. You've got Gundogan a bit cheaper, Zaha, Rodrigo, Grosh. Any of them will be fine. If I had to kind of narrow it down, right now I'd say Diaz. He's been impressive, and the other one would be Rodrigo. Yeah, they'd be my top 2. Yeah, okay, fair enough. So you got Zinchenko and Diaz for Robbo and Cucurella. Uh, that's tough, really, because you could just maybe roll the transfer. Well, not roll the transfer. You could maybe upgrade your, for example, your 4.5 million forward. You can go from Archer to Stansfield, something really basic like that. Or this is a tough one. You already got Grosh, right? Yeah, this is a tough one. I need to think about that. You could maybe do Zinchenko to Saliba, save a bit of money there, but it's kind of just a luxury transfer. Your team's looking fine. The Saint-Maximin goal was top tier. Yes, it was. It was a fantastic goal. Sterling as an option, still not for me, but obviously a really impressive performance. I'd still rather have an 8 million midfielder or the likes of Salah and De Bruyne. You watch, Salah will get a brace against Newcastle. Always happens when people lose faith. I mean, he may end up being my captain, actually, especially if I just don't have faith in Haaland starting. Yeah, Karim, I've answered that question several times already, mate. Best gaming to sell Haaland, as he won't start all the matches when UCL starts. It's, I mean, look, because we don't know when he's going to be benched. It could be now, it could be in Game Week 6. We just don't know. It's all guesses. I'd rather go to Kane. Yeah, I'd rather go to Kane, really. Yeah, Kane or De Bruyne would be my kind of replacements for Haaland if you're looking to do that. But honestly, even with the rotation, I think Haaland's a worthwhile keep. Does the current injuries to City defence making them leaky mean we can avoid for now? They still have some good underlying numbers in the defence, and I think once Laporte comes back and, you know, there's a few other players that can come into the mix like Sergio Gomez, I think City will improve. Is Zinchenko fit to play? Not at the moment, but it's just a precaution. I think he'll be fine for Villa. Grosh for the silver or -4 to start Andreas? I'd take the -4, I think, but I think either's fine, really. You don't need to take the -4, that's the thing. I mean, you could just do either one. It's just really what you think is going to happen in the Fulham Brighton game. It's a risky hit, but it could be worth it. Who should I captain this week? I'd go for De Bruyne. If you don't have him, then consider Haaland or Salah, depending on who you think is going to start. When I saw the 9-0 scoreline, I thought Salah had at least 3, yeah. Arguably, he could have had 4 or 5, you know, if you think about that, you know. It's absolutely crazy. He missed an open goal, for Christ's sake. Salah, Robbo, and De Silva out for Kane, Perisic, and Diaz. No, I think getting rid of Salah and Robbo, I mean, especially Salah, I think that's just knee-jerky. I wouldn't do it. It's not a bad set of transfers you're making, by the way. As a trio, definitely Kane, Perisic, and Diaz is better, but I wouldn't get rid of Salah and Robbo for a hit. Thank you, Singal. Kulusevski and Trippier for Diaz and Saliba. Yes, I'd do it. Both good duos, though. Zinchenko's fit or no? Like I already just said, he's not fit right now, but he's going to be recovering, and I think he will be available for Tuesday. Because obviously, if I'm asked right now if he's fit, we don't know that just yet. But he wasn't fit enough to start yesterday or be in the team. But I think he'll definitely be available for Game Week 6 or 5. Is Walker a keep in the team or change to anyone? Got 0 in the bank, have 3 Arsenal. I already answered your question, Eddie. So, like I already said, he's a keep for maybe this week, but in the long term, he's a sell. And you know, you've got plenty of options. Perisic, or maybe go to a 4.5 million defender, such as Botman, or you can go to Dunk. Haaland will start. I'm not sure. I said this before. I'm 50-50 on it. If you look at it logically, Haaland will be benched either in Game Week 5 or 6. I'm going with Kane for Game Week 5. At least we know he's nailed on. That's fair enough. And against West Ham, I mean, it'd be very surprising if he was benched. Yeah, Cancelo numbers don't look promising, but I still think it's worth the extra million. He got 11 points in Game Week 2, despite getting a fantasy assist, to be fair. Thoughts on 7 million Isaac? You know, looking at his career, his goal tally, it's not that impressive, you know. Like, I think he will make a difference in terms of the overall play with Newcastle, but as an FPL asset, I need to see much from him, you know, before being convinced. I just wouldn't go to him. I think Tony's much better than Mitrovic. I think they'll score much more goals. Is there any new players you suggest to have a wild card that wasn't in the Game Week 3 or 4 wild card? Honestly, not really. Maybe Pascal Grosch. I mean, most of it will be the same. I said Sanchez in the last one. I talked about the different structures, going for maybe 3 forwards or going for De Bruyne midfield, depending on what you want to do. I've kind of covered most of it. So, yeah, it'd be a bit redundant if I made a Game Week 5 wildcard team, to be fair, especially with 2 days before the deadline. Thank you, Pat. Grosh or Rodrigo? Rodrigo, but it's really close. It's literally almost 50-50, you could argue. Kulusevski and Neto for Rodrigo and Grosh. Yep, like I said, that's a good set of transfers. Yep. I came late. Why sell Walker? Not necessarily a sell for this game week. It's just in the weeks to come, I think Sergio Gomez will get more minutes. Walker doesn't seem to fit in exactly into this kind of new system City are playing with 2 inverted fullbacks. I think Sergio Gomez will be better acclimatized to that. Obviously, it's just a guess. I could be completely wrong. You know, Pep will know much more than me, of course, and he knows what to do with his team. But I'm not convinced by him. And even when he does start, you're really relying on those clean sheets. But people around the same price, like Perisic, for example, you know, they can get those attacking returns, and they're just much better as a result. Roll transfer and play Andreas, or transfer in James for Trippier? I'd get James in for Trippier, but Trippier's not a bad hold. Honestly not. Yeah, honestly, Salah, we're all asking the same question. We don't know. We just don't know. Yeah, Whitewood, I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't really checked too much in terms of FPL Content Creators Awards. I think there's like a nomination process, then there's the actual thing. But honestly, yeah, there's the FCA website, I think it is, the Football Content Awards website. But I'm not sure if the nomination's already drawn or something like that, to be honest. Veltman or Gabriel Saliba? Saliba. Yeah, it'd be Saliba, then probably Veltman, then Gabriel. But Gabriel is probably the most likely to get goals from the free. He scored the most last season amongst defenders. Diaz to Cancelo or Roberto Trent? Like I said already, Melvin, I'd go Diaz to Cancelo. I think it's an easy one. But we're going to be covering all of these big questions in more detail in future streams and videos. So thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. And let's see where we are in terms of our target. So we are 20 likes away from 200. So I really much appreciate if we can get to 200 likes, and we're very close to that. If you haven't already, also subscribe to the channel. We're very close to 13,000 subscribers as well. Just a good 600, 700 away, but still not too far off nonetheless. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a patron or a channel member. The links are in the description below, and you can also join the FPL League and also the Discord server. So yeah, it'd be good to see you on all of that as well. We'll answer a few more questions quickly before wrapping up. It's all right, Melvin, don't worry. Will KDB start? I believe so. I'd be much more convinced about that than De Bruyne, for example. In that case, Cancelo to Perisic and Andres to Rodrigo? Still not for me. I mean, look, Perisic and Rodrigo is a better duo, but I'm not that convinced if Perisic starts in Game Week 5, and if he does, he might be benched in Game Week 6. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. A bit similar to Haaland, to be fair. So if you have Perisic, I would hold, but would I bring him in right now for Cancelo? Probably not. I'd find another way to make that move. Should I get Isaac? For me, no. I'd wait and see first, and then if he's looking impressive, you can do that. Honestly, I wouldn't get Isaac in just yet, but yeah, let's go back to the screen for now very quickly, but we are going to be wrapping up very soon, just answering these last few questions. What's the best captain? Look, they're all good captaincy options on paper. I'd say Salah. Spurs don't have any good fixtures, but Spurs are looking pretty impressive right now, at least defensively, and Kane is looking in good form. But yeah, West Ham isn't a great fixture on paper, but I'd still think Spurs will get a result. City, I mean, yeah, it's not a good game on paper, but then just look what they did last season. They did the double on them, so yeah, I wouldn't look too much into fixtures. Best defender replacement for Chilwell, Reece James as a like-for-like, and also Perisic, Saliba. I think they're all good choices. Sell Edison to Sanchez or sell Cancelo? Edison to Sanchez for sure, no doubt about it. 65 points this week. Who do I start next game week? Andreas, Barnes, or Trippier? Oof. I'd start Barnes. I think Undav could be a future pick. 40 goals last season and hasn't had the chance just yet, but the Brighton manager said he'll be starting soon. If he does and he hits the ground running, you know, Brighton could be a serious team. Like, they could be competing with Newcastle, you know, all these teams for the top 7. Honestly, even top 6 isn't, you know, that far out of the question. Well, that's a good point. And I like Dundav a lot. You know, I talked about him in pre-season. Hasn't been that impressive in pre-season and also in the campaign so far. Hasn't had the opportunities, but once he does, I think, yeah, it's looking really good. Yeah, thank you, Singal. We're very close to 200 likes. Thank you to everyone. And it's been a blast as always. And yeah, just there's going to be much more streams as well. On Tuesday, we've got another one. There's also going to be UCL Fantasy content the week after, a deadline stream on that Tuesday as well. So there's so much football. It's going to be kind of a very congested first half of the season before the World Cup. And it should be very good. Anthony for next week, maybe. Oh yeah, that's typical. First game against Arsenal, probably get a goal. Yeah, that's a good point that you raise. Yeah, I think so. So not for the Game Week 5 deadline, but for Game Week 6, Anthony could be on the bench or start. My guess would be he's on the bench, but let's see how things pan out. Should I sell Zinchenko? I have the Silva and Andres on the bench. I would keep Zinchenko, honestly. I think he will start. It just depends if he's going to be fit enough in time for that Villa game, but I would definitely, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't start against United in Game Week 6, for example, and I think he's a worthwhile hold. It's obviously a bit tricky when you have Perisic and all these other players around the same price doing so well, but I would honestly keep him. Thank you to everyone. I will be seeing you in the future videos and streams. Take care. I hope you have a great week, and hopefully you're not too annoyed about Salah, but these things can happen even to the best FPL asset of all time. So take care. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one.